It just doesn't seem like there's coincidence to me anymore. Like, big thing is for us to see how these huge high flyers, how well they hold up. Like, are we gonna, any of these massive growth names, it's not uncommon to see a 50, 60, 70% correction when they top out. We've been stuck in this range. We're on week 11 of this range. If we don't break out next week, I would be, on a short-term perspective, I would significantly be shifting gears and thinking that we're gonna see something similar to this. Not so much this in terms of the time, like how long it took, but in terms of this kind of like the puke.
Cause we pop 'em like over red and vodka. C3, okay, a millionaire. I'm a young money millionaire.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna time that better here. And I am in Minnesota. Both of us are in Minnesota right now, which is kind of fun.
Both of us.
I'm in northern Minnesota. I won't let my OPSEC out too much here, but it was we're delayed. I'm using someone else's computer. Things are a little off. I haven't been checking the markets, but you have, thank God. And I was able to check out to see what was going on. Markets look a little flat today. It is July 13th, about noon 30 Eastern, 12:39 to be specific. And a lot going on. We called this one drugs and hack as well. So sorry, we're talking IGV, hack. It seems like I'm on drugs right now. I'm not. I just finished my coffee, but we're making it happen here today. So what is happening in the markets as I catch up? Saw the big news, I think, was Korea. And in the war, we had Lindsey Graham. There's a lot of going on over the weekend here. So we got my boy JFDI, who's in the lab right now, making it happen. So
yeah, honestly, over the weekend, I was with my 15-year-old. God, we probably put in like 25 hours of fucking Pokemon going for Go Fest.
There you go.
It was like the 10-year anniversary, so we were at the Mall of America. It was pretty intense. So congrats to all my fellow nerds out there that caught the shinies and the.
Dude, some of those videos out of, I don't know, I think China, but like watching these herds of people just go.
Did
I haven't
you see
seen
Times
that for
Square?
years. No, I haven't looked for years on that, but it skipped my algorithm this year. But I guess I used to be a nerd, and I saw tons of these videos of people just running around doing Pokemon. My old co-host Tony used to love Pokemon. He like trades Pokemon cards and makes a killing off of it. So it's a thing.
Yeah, whole nother beast for sure. I just enjoy the game and kind of run around and
get some good exercise, though. Yeah.
Yeah. And it keeps, him and I together. He's super into it, and it's fun watching him get, it's like highs and lows.
Yeah.
To watch him like do this thing. It's pretty good. So I didn't really have I was paying attention to, Twitter and StockTwits, whatnot. I saw the Lindsey Graham news, and then, the kind of continued escalation in the Iran stuff. But
well, and do you think, not to go, we don't need to go down the conspiracy hole, but if there was some foul play potentially, is that another catalyst for a bigger war, do you think?
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Like, I just liken it to kind of, we talked pre-show. It's like if you watched House of Cards, and you're seeing everything kind of play out, just all things considered, it just doesn't seem like there's coincidence to me anymore. Like,
it seems
and so
we don't know.
Interestingly that you brought that up, because, or in terms of conspiracy theory, there's guys that I work with that a lot of times, especially for Momo and like Momo guys, like, it doesn't really matter so much what the narrative is around whatever the thing, just so much that there is a narrative and that people are talking about it, because that provides a lot of liquidity. Mm-hmm. And so, again, if in that regard, it's like, what am I totally trying to say? For Momo guys, like, it's good to have those narratives, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because it provides the liquidity and the volatility. Whereas if you don't have it, you're just going to be kind of in probably a little bit more boring area of the market.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a crazy news. I mean, the McConnell stuff was going on, or and we live in such a messed up world now. People are like laughing about people dying, and it's
Yeah.
terrible to see. Whether you hate someone or like someone, my whole take is you don't make fun of people that are gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it was quite the news because McConnell came out now. I don't know if you saw that tweet.
Huh.
He's alive and well apparently.
Oh, okay.
It's a
He,
whole crazy shit show, but yeah, I mean it's pretty volatile to say the least, right? And we're in this situation where we don't know if we're going to go back to war with Iran. It sounds like the strait's now open. As the last news I saw, that could have changed this morning since seems to do quite a bit throughout the day. It's open, it's not. It's open, it's not. So
we had
let's bring us home.
Yeah, totally. We had a guest on. Well, he comes on quarterly on my Tuesday, Wednesday show with Ben and GP, and we had a conversation where he was discussing the idea behind this apex point of like bad news. Like at what point does it not even matter anymore? And that's kind of like the apex point. So I guess I don't really know if we're there yet in terms of this whatever we've got going on with Iran. I don't know. Do you think that we are, or
because I've said for a while on this podcast, I think it's going to go through. I don't know why, but in my head, I always said like October.
October, okay,
and it just feels like it's it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. Like knowing with our Trump tried to play nice with them and do deals, and then he just came out and he's like they're scumbags, and like those are pretty strong words to like then backtrack again. You never know with Trump though. That's like the thing. As traders, you can make a ton of money because if you catch the right side of his tweet, you're in good shape there. But I just think it's for some reason I think it's going to go on through the summer, and my conspiracy there, and I don't think it's a secret to many people. It feels like we went to war to distract from the Epstein files.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if Trump put out a tweet like, "Hey, have you guys forgotten about the Epstein files?" The war would be done, in a messed up way. But I think it's not over, in my opinion.
The divide and conquer thing is kind of like seems to be just the playbook or smoke and mirrors. Yeah, I would agree with you. It's like if you have something like Epstein Island and the Epstein list, like I don't even know if I'm sorry. Is there another subject or topic on the fucking planet that's more important than what was happening or supposedly happening? I mean, I could throw fucking race, sex, age, all the shit out the fucking window and say none of that matters compared to like human.
Yeah, we don't need to go far down the rabbit hole, but yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's by far the craziest. They're trying aliens now. Aliens is the new topic. Out of nowhere, the aliens are coming back. So who knows? We can't control the world is what I've humbled myself to start figuring out. I used to think I could like tweet my way out of, to peace. And then my wife's, slapping me. She's like, you have a family now, focus on this. And I was like, okay, you're right. Like control what you can control.
Yeah.
And the markets are something that we can, whatever the news happens, the goal is to make money. And so like we try to throw politics aside and, all that crazy stuff.
Totally. In relation to all of that and kind of bringing it full circle, I mean, though, like, your idea that this kind of pushes off into October, November, September, November, timing wise, I could pull up the cues and say, and, I honestly had a kind of an inflection point timing right about what you're saying. So I'm just going to pull these out. I can explain those a whole nother time, but I kind of put this together as somewhat of a timing tool, not so much to be exact, but as kind of a loosely both timing and price wise. So sometimes like if I were to have this timing tool here or this, triangle, this inflection point or this time period is important to me just as much And it could be either here, it could be breaking out, or it could be a completing like let's say a leg higher. I guess my point is that you, for some reason, feel like this was going to drag off all year. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, let me look at the cues and kind of see if that makes sense. Yeah, that makes total sense. We're looking at the cues on a weekly time frame. We've been stuck in this range. We're on week 11 of this range. If we don't break out next week, I would be on a short-term, from a short-term perspective, I would significantly be shifting gears and thinking that we're going to see something similar to this. Not so much this in terms of the time, like how long it took, but in terms of this kind of like the puke. We will probably drop this floor, and maybe hit 650, 680 before, in my opinion, before resuming higher. Then you can go down to the daily. We can kind of stack all the things by looking at the dollar, looking at energy, and then looking at the indices. A lot of it's kind of if then, and they're all going to kind of, work in their own way. So like, you're going to have to slow me down if you need me to like.
No. Sorry. My kid was, she had a flashlight right in her eye flashing. And I was telling my wife on the side, I was like, get that out of her eye real quick.
No, I'm just saying like slow me down if I'm talking too fast. Cause if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of pop around a little bit.
Yeah, please do.
We were talking about the dollar first. And if you were looking at just the UUP, it's still within this range. We haven't actually broken out yet. You did get a fairly tight closes for several weeks. Not super tight, but tight. And it looks like we're about to resume to the upside. You flip over to the DXY, and the DXY is more or less already taken out the highs of this range. You got this wick high and the failure here. We can kind of disregard that for the time being, just to say, let's see if this resume higher. I know a lot. There have been times, and a lot believe that the equity markets behave in an inverse fashion to the dollar. So if we're in the camp that in the short term cues are going to resolve to the downside or just Q SPY, that would mean to me that the dollar is going to break higher, as well as energy. And in terms of like this conflict in the Middle East, overlaying that on the XLE, it honestly looks like this was a pause period before, again, we continue higher. The way that I would be looking at XLE is just kind of having an A, B, C, and then we're going to kind of complete that D somewhere, up in here. And usually when those D points hit is when the market, or when that particular vehicle is either going to pause or reverse. It's not necessarily a sign of a reversal. It's just when measured moves hit, a lot of times we get a pause. You've got short-term guys taking profit. You've got just a multitude of things happening. On the flip side, on this XLE chart, so I've got a guy that I'm working with that introduced me to this kind of a momentum-driven indicator, and I've been putzing with it, just more so out of curiosity and fascination than something I want to incorporate into my trading. But I've been enjoying it so far, and what you're seeing right here is basically a complete reset. It's like saying, when the XLE ripped, you can use these terms like, oh, XLE is oversold, we're going to roll over. Yeah, sure. We pulled in, and we just moved sideways, and we've essentially worked off all of this overbought, all of the overbought readings. I'm sure you could probably put any indicator on there and you're probably going to get a closer similar reading. And I think a lot of these indicators are already, hindsight indicators. But if you can take that hindsight information and use that in a longer term thesis, it really helps. So like if I already think the XLE is going to be heading up here, it gives me an opportunity to kind of zero down onto the daily and say, all right, if this thing starts to break out, maybe I'm throwing a starter on today through 56.
I have a question just in general. So charts are obviously what has happened in the past historically, and you can use them as indicators. In world that we're living in right now, with the tweets of Trump and anything, we're at war, we're not at war. Like, do you take a step back a little bit from this, and do the charts matter as much? Because like one tweet could send this flying, right?
Yeah, that's yes, 100%. Because if for the guys that really lean into trail stopping, the market is going to force you out. Like the amount of trail stops that probably got ran on this bar right here, I can only imagine. And then same thing against this kind of failure. So trail stops, I would say, is the
my old co-host used to call it the Avi stop, because I was the guy that could always get stopped out. And then he's like, yeah, you can't put it at the simple numbers, because like the chart, they know that retail is doing that, right?
For sure. And it's just a behavioral clue as to saying, like, if the market is forcing you out, it's just a signal. It's saying, like, it's not ready. I think early on in this, it was real easy to, if you did get stop out, to redeploy capital, just being that we came off of this rip. So the initial thought was that we ripped higher, we pulled back and hard right into the 50-day. It makes sense we pulled in hard because of how hard this freaking rip was. But then we've kind of continued, and underneath the surface, we've been seeing, various sectors getting kind of like, space, for instance, getting kind of blown out. Some other names, some stuff's looking good, some stuff's looking not so good. You can really let that be your guide, as in, if you're perpetually getting stopped out, that's the market telling you that it's like choppy as fuck, and like you should just be sitting on your hands or trading very short term. The chop behavior is the bane of my existence, and probably the majority of traders out there, because, when we're at the low end of the range, it's real easy to get super bearish. We're going to roll over and we're going to go all the way back here. When we get up here, we get all super excited. We're going to fucking break out and everything's going to be great again. Like if you're just, it's easy to get ping-ponged in this.
And that happened with me with Nebius, right? Like I've held Nebius since the 90s. It got up to 280, I believe, and then came down. And Joey was completely right about MSTR, and he was giving me like the 290. Then he was like, it's going to go to 190. Then he told me it was going to 90. And he said the same thing with Nebius. And so I got nervous when it hit 188. I was like, all right, I got to trim some of my position. Like I got to hold profits. I can't let this go all the way back down to like 150.
Yeah.
And it hit I think I top ticked it or bottom ticked it, basically. And then it just shot back up to 220. And I was like, oh God, I'm still holding a good chunk. So like, I feel good about that, but I did trim some finally. And now I'm waiting. Now it's like one of those situations where I'm like, all right, I got to wait now till it gets back to 200, or is this thing going to run back up to 300? So it's definitely a mind game. What are you seeing on the charts for Nebius?
Yeah.
Right now?
Nebius right now, it's kind of flirting with the 50-day. I don't particularly like that it broke this kind of short-term trend line, but on a larger time frame, I think on a lot of these names, the larger time frames still look good. The shorter time frames just look choppy. And it's kind of
about Anthropic. I gotta find that tweet, but Anthropic is going to be building out like crazy amounts, and then on the All In podcast too. I don't know if you listen to that. I sometimes do. I take it for a grain of salt because you realize they have investments in all these things, like private investments. They're like bringing on people talking about Anthropic's going to like 3x from here, do like 300 billion in a quarter or something crazy. But if they were to do that, then all these, they're going to have to go rent GPUs elsewhere, right? And I think that Nebius could be a benefactor. There was talks about, Anthropic's currently not a client, but they likely will be. And so I think that's where a lot of the upside momentum people are thinking about is going to happen. And, their quarter, I think their earnings are in August, I want to say.
I would imagine all of the incestuous money circle things is going to kind of, it's going to be, every time one of those news pieces hits about a get together or break up, I think it'll probably, throw something into the, and however you're looking at the chart, on the short term, those narratives are going to affect price in one way or another, right? Like if let's say Nebius and Anthropic deal, all of a sudden like it comes out as like, oh no, they're not going to work together, or like they're going to break up. Right?
Yeah, they could go to the downside.
It would make sense that like it would kind of pull in, but on a larger time frame, it still looks phenomenal. It had a pretty decent looking base back here, another pretty good looking base here, and again, like on a longer time frame, like would I want to sit in a position and hold it back to 150? No, but if I wasn't in Nebius, I would certainly be interested in initiating a position versus 150.
Yeah, and that's where I'm conflicted at too. Is yeah. Like now I'm holding about like half my position originally, and part of me wants it to go back down, at this point. But I'm also holding stock, but I want to get back in because I do believe long term this company could be 500 plus,
sure.
Over time. I've heard 1,200 price target. I mean, everyone's got their own crazy numbers they're throwing out there, but
I think the big test right now in the current, like where we're sitting at or where we're sitting, I think the big thing is for us to see how these huge high flyers, how well they hold up. Like, right. Are we gonna like any of these massive growth names? Like, it's not uncommon to see a 50, 60, 70% correction when they top out. And
well, now is my fear.
I'm not saying I think that's what's going to happen here and let's say SanDisk, right? But I am curious to see where we kind of put in I don't know. I don't want to say generational low, but like where do we find like a real hard carved out bottom where price kind of does start to kind of build a high level base? And if SanDisk doesn't split, my guess would be it's probably somewhere between like, let's just say 1,000 and 2,000, like that,
Yeah. I mean, SanDisk has been on a generational. I'll give shout out to Smarter Trader. He gave that at like, I think sub 100. Micron, I got in at like 90. He was on that early, and he even said it's going to like 1,000. He's called the numbers pretty accurate on these ones. And I mean, it's one of those things. Like I'm super bullish though on AI. I don't think it's a bubble. I think it's we've never seen anything like this where it's knowledge is everyone gets smarter and people seek knowledge. If you get down to like the core of humanity, it's like that's what people want to create progress and get more knowledge. And it's never like the internet, I guess, is the best example of like extending our brains. Now yes. This is like another extension of it. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. The thing, social media and AI to me almost seems like a magnifier, as in like, okay, let's just realistically, if the only reason you and I should be on social media is either for business related things, you're advertising yourself, idea sharing, and growing and evolving. And like, so it's essentially like it's a tool. Same thing with AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, the power is in the prompter. Like the better information is going to be spit out, the better you prompt it. And so to your point where you kind of mentioned people getting smarter, I think that there's going to be a sect of people that are not only going to become more intelligent, but they're going to be the embodiment of this intelligence, right? Like they've been able to take and incorporate, because that's a lot of what learning is, right? It's integrating these lessons into our everyday day-to-day life. And so like if you can take a thing that, say, because AI is going to remove slippage, right? It's going to tell you point blank where you're being a fucking idiot. Mm-hmm. And if you can take that information and say, oh my gosh, it's totally right. It's calling me out on a blind spot. Let me just shift. Like, dude, that is a massive, massive win for you. So I agree with you. I think it's going to kind of
It's
work.
amazing for stocks. I mean, it's like you like write out your entire thesis and be the complete contrarian to this, poke holes into my, thesis. And you can go back and forth with it. And it's like, I was joking with my friend, or I was even asking my like stepmom, and like, what did you guys do back in the day before like internet? Like they just didn't have the questions answered, and it is pretty wild. I wanted to show this too, because you're talking about like, it's going to become part of us. This is something I was looking at last night. That's pretty wild. I don't know if you've ever seen this hypershell, but it's like these things that go, you can like sprint up mountains now. And it's like, this is the next evolution.
Goodness.
Here. Yeah, you got to check these things out. And they're not even that like expensive, but it's like people have set records now. They can someone hiked Everest with it. This is not an advertisement.
Really?
But Hypershell, if anyone's listening, sponsor our pod, because I would love to walk around in this thing. But it's like the craziest thing where it's like, all right, you hear these theories of like people becoming robots over time. Hold on, let's add this back to the stage here. And it's like, it's happening. Like people, and it's cool because like my dad had a stroke, and like if he could like walk without a limp now, then I started looking into like something like that. And it's, it's allowing people to live better, in many ways, and for our brains too, using Claude and using these tools. It's just remarkable. And it's going to end up in this potential case, we're in this K-shaped economy, but it could make it really divide, I think.
Big time. I would agree.
People that are using it versus not.
Because on the flip side to that, again, using these things as tools rather than a full-on crutch, it's kind of like, if I got full-on use, if I'm perfectly healthy and I'm full-on used to using this suit, I might start to see some like muscle deterioration, but at the same time, I might develop muscle in other areas. I think a lot of it will just be kind of ebb and flow, instead of being like getting so fixed on saying like, actually, let me bring that back. You have a limp, or somebody has a limp, and all of a sudden you're using it to like walk. It corrects your gait, and all of a sudden your body is working and moving optimally again. Perhaps that can be rehabilitating that, let's say, right side or left side. Because dude, that imbalance is going to fuck you. And then we've seen with elderly especially, or just people in general, the more immobile they are, the less healthy they are. And it's a compounding thing. You're 70, 80 years old and you bust a hip and you stop moving, like you're going to go down real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it with my wife's grandparents. Like elderly people fall, and it's really detrimental. This is a funny podcast. We're like getting into like the depths of humanity here, but I do think it's remarkable to see. And you watch these Elon Musk videos with Neuralink, and it's like people that were like deaf can hear again. It's like and that. There's a whole nother element that could get scary, where it's like, do you control your own thoughts at a certain point? And we can go down that crazy rabbit hole there. But with any technology, you can use it for good or you can use it for evil. But even driving I rented this Tesla, and it didn't read in Minnesota. They have the flashing, blinking yellow lights, when you're getting on and off an exit. Yeah. And it thought it was just a yellow light. So it started like stopping. I had the full self-driving on. And it like jolted me a few times. And so I had to like tell Tesla, I was like, hey, in Minnesota, like you guys should know this, but there's like flashing yellow lights when you get it on and off. But it didn't read that. So it was kind of scary because I had my kid in the car and I was like, oh shit, I grabbed the wheel again here. But it's getting better and better. And like all these technologies are going to get better and better. And I just foresee.
Do you think that, like oddly, or maybe not so oddly, a lot of the red tape that's kind of either prevented or kind of tempered, I don't know, this direction we're in, like, and now that it's gone,
I get conflicted because I think there should be. I mean, it's like you limit technology. I get conflicted because you heard about. I don't know if you saw the news article, but like when they showed the government Mythos. They're like, we can't let this out because it can crack bank accounts right now. And they're like, we can drain bank accounts. So like the world's not ready for how fast this technology is moving, I'd say in general. And so there could be limitation that from a stock perspective, bringing it back to stocks. Yeah, the government could certainly come in and limit how fast this stuff's released and make sure there's like choke points in there and safety nets. Cause I think there needs to be like people right now, a lot of people are using it and it's like the most simple form. But like you said, if you give a hacker these tools, now they can just do everything 10 times faster. And, you know, with anything, like the government can't keep up with as fast technology. So I don't know. Maybe we need like eventually maybe there's an EMP to bring us back to analog because we're going too fast for humanity. But like this technology is moving too fast, I think, in many cases where, you know, we're going to be living in a different world. And now 3 years from now, who knows?
I felt whether or not I didn't think that it mattered if the Trump admin or the
Biden.
No, Kamala. I felt that we were moving towards a red tape cutting time period.
Yeah.
And that we were going to see a massive kind of growth in like just all things kind of like almost out of like recklessness to kind of let that recklessness out and then having to kind of rein it back in. Because I think sometimes like the red tape just prevents an all out, it prevents growth as well.
Mm.
And the more like, it's also, you know, as we've, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but like as we've moved on, it's almost as if the people they want the freedom to choose. Like, it's almost like feels like it's going to get to a point where for you to get on an airplane, right, you're going to have to sign like a waiver that says, I don't know, if this plane blows up in the air, your family can't sue Delta, or like, I don't know, like just as an example, you have to sign like a waiver that anything could happen. And that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. Wait, what made you think that though? I'd agree. I mean, it's getting to a point where it's like we did because it was like way cheaper to fly Sun Country and never fly Sun Country. I always fly Delta, but I was like, okay, it's like I'll save like $600 doing this, and it was like then they charge you for your carry-on, then they charge you for this, then you get to the checkpoint, they're scanning your eyes to like see who you are. So there's a bit of that like Big Brother coming in. And we talked about this on because we're usually Bitcoin and, you know, you're not anti-government, but you're always curious and you're looking at certain things and questioning things. Right. And with CBDCs coming around the corner, like Trump went very public and in Florida, their governor, I'm blanking on his name now, DeSantis was saying they signed a bill, no CBDCs. But when you look into it, it stops at 2030. Right. And in Israel, they're doing this right now. I know in like other countries, they're starting to do it. In the Netherlands, they're taxing people on unrealized gains. They're talking about doing that. So it's like this world's getting really crazy and people want control. And how do they do that? They're going to be using this technology a lot of time. But
when COVID happened, I felt like that was on some, again, kind of outer universe level, I thought that this was what's the right word? Like I thought that it was going to speed time up, and I don't know why I thought that. It's just the way it felt. I thought we were at this like crazy intersection between health, technology, like all things. And with the introduction of AI, kind of again, my point with AI is like the removal of slippage and really transparency. And so I thought that the COVID and like that time period, I'm not talking about like COVID, just that time period and kind of how both people behaved as well as what the world and federal governments and agencies, the way everything was kind of playing out. I'm like, something's coming from this that I can't quite, I don't know, wrap my mind around.
It's the great monetary reset is kind of the just, you know, from a Bitcoiner's perspective and what we kind of see and view. You go down to like the fourth turning. We had a guy from Minnesota, actually, Brendan Quinham, come on, and he studied like the fourth turning. I don't know if you've looked into that at all, but basically every 80 years, it's pretty remarkable. Every 80 years is a global catalyst and there's a global war, right? And so we're coming up on that right now. And COVID was a part of that great reset essentially.
Mhm.
And with AI and the mRNA drugs, it's pretty interesting, like how fast they can come up with these
I think that
injections.
I agree with you, and I think that there is this is going to sound real awful to say. I think that there is definitely a connection between what was in the COVID vaccine and how, like, what is actually kind of circulating through your body. And again, kind of the point of, like, again, AI being introduced into this, because it doesn't, okay, if this is the great reset, we all agreed to participate in this and on some level. And so whether you're in the camp of the unvaccinated or whether you're in the camp of the vaccinated, you're still part of the science experiment. You're still part of the experiment to see, like,
Well, now you can't even run from it, even if you're not, like, the meat you're eating. They're like
yeah,
vaccinating the
exactly.
cows. they're
I
every conspiracy theory has like come true. Like, that people used to see like the planes that were dropping stuff. Like, everyone thought
yeah.
that was a conspiracy, and then they like switched. They're like, well, it's good for you to, like, we allow
Oh.
plants to live longer. And, but like, even
Yeah.
organic stuff, you can't like even run from it anymore. It's like in the air, and so
The
you can
shit
do the
they
best you
coated,
can. But
yeah.
yeah, and the Bill Gates, the coding of stuff. John's a big what is the COVID that is drinking in the drinking water. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're living in wild times. I always say that. It's just like you take it, and these are fun conversations to have, because you just like dig into like what and why are they doing it? Like, you see the billionaires, like, building these bunkers, and the
Well,
time period around all of this is you
yeah.
have to question it, if what's going on.
Borders only enrich governments, and governments, no matter the title you want to give it, whether it's socialism, communism, democracy, really only does the bidding of the ruling class.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, dude, if you have enough money, what does a border matter? If you need to go to France to get a shoulder replacement, or Mexico to get your leg replaced, or go have a surgery in, I don't know, Japan, like, it doesn't impact you. Like, the
Mhm.
borders and governments are for the low class of, like, when we were talking about the K shape, like, dude, I think
Yeah.
we're moving into a really, really bizarre, and I'm not a I'm an optimist. So I believe in the good things that are coming. I just question how long those really, really good times are going to last. And I guess, who knows when that ultimately reaches. But between AI and the blockchain, I mean, blockchain is essentially how you remove slippage, right? Like, it's pretty much zero. Like, blockchain essentially is going to create a zero sum game,
The truth.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it should be the truth. I always said, like, they got to figure out a way because I don't know if people believe like elections anymore, and so like blockchain should be the way to do it. You can go on and see if your vote counted, right?
Dude,
No
have
one
you
else
seen the
voted for
movie
you.
The Circle?
No,
How about the creator?
no, I gotta
Oh,
wake
dude.
myself up.
Okay, dude, holy shit. The movie The Circle is with Tom Hanks, and there's some, like, girl in it. I can't remember her name, but she goes to work for the social media company, and this is a long story short.
Yeah.
You think at the very end of the movie, she's gonna become like, dude, fuck social media. This shit is like evil. And the whole point, the premise, was to try and encourage people to live transparently. That means, like, dude, if I log on to my Circle account and I want to see what Joey's doing in his bedroom right now, I can literally go onto his thing and see exactly, like, it's a camera showing me exactly what he's doing. And then if you live transparently, you're touted as like this god, or like transparent person. You're
It's like
just
the Truman
so
Show.
magical, no privacy. And so you thought the girl was going to be like, oh my god, this stuff is like crazy. And instead she was like, well, why don't we just force everyone to be a part of this? And so then I thought, like, dude, they're talking about Meta here, Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, eventually, your
Did you see Meta
pro-
stuff where they can keep you going after you're dead? I gotta find
dude,
this thing.
what?
Yeah, hold on. This was like a big thing. Meta. social media accounts after you die. So basically, with AI, they get your here. This thing is crazy,
Dude, that is weird.
This is a fun podcast. Not all the
Yeah.
stocks audience, but this is about to wake you up. Check this. Death isn't the end. Meta patented an AI that lets you keep posting from beyond the grave. So basically, when you read through this, they know every, your personality, you're posting all the time. They capture who you are. And like if a news article pops up, it will give the dead person's take on that. And it's like a way, and in Asia, this is like a big thing where they have like dolls that will continue to be like your grandparents. Here, let me pop that back up.
Oh, boy.
And like you could see like how some humans, could believe that that'd be nice to like stay in touch, but it's like blows your mind. It's like, all right, like there's I don't know.
How about here's a food for thought for you. They're talking about aliens, right?
Yeah.
Your eyes, like your real eyes, your two eyeballs, can only see so much. Not just like here in the 3D, but like have you seen Interstellar?
I'm not. I gotta get my movies up.
Okay, so it's hard to kind of, I guess, maybe wrap my mind around that. All things are happening. All of time is happening simultaneously. Like we are participating in this kind of infinite tapestry, and each one of us is like kind of one thread in this tapestry of all space and time. And I guess, dude, I could go on a whole
I gotta watch the movie.
The point is that your eyes can only see so much. So who's to say that like we don't have an infinite amount of beings and forms of existence existing right here in the now, literally sitting right next to me. I just can't see it. Like I can't see it with these eyeballs.
There's what is it called? There's something like, I mean, I forget what they're called, but like you see them in pictures sometimes. You can see like a line basically.
Yeah.
If anyone in the chat knows, let me know. But there's that, and then but the science fiction is starting to blur. Where I know like the U.S. military has these lasers that can basically not blow up the outer shell of I don't know how this works, but like if they're going after like another ship, it can somehow go through the first layer so that the enemy doesn't realize that it's someone else hitting them, and it would just hit the engine so that people think it's just an engine failure on their own boat.
Oh,
and yes, I think this is public. Hopefully, if not, I'll have a knock on my door soon. But I know that this like does exist, where and like the space laser whole thing, that's like a real thing. Like they have lasers.
Dude,
now.
I know. Did you see that?
Look up CERN, and there's some crazy shit going on.
What's his name from Palmer? He had tweeted not too long ago, like, dude, if you think the stuff that like is public is cool, wait until you see the shit that we have. Like, dude, and then you think about, let's say, Google. What was it? Is it Google X that is their big R&D arm? I think it's Google X.
Yeah. X Labs, yeah.
Dude, I can't even imagine the things that they've got going on. And then you got the rest of us just out here kind of like, oh yeah, like I'm just going to go, I don't know.
Well, even with like, they'll leak, some things out, and like test it out basically to see how people react to it. And it, if you look at like CERN and DARPA projects, I've gone down these rabbit holes, and it's just like blows your mind that like in Switzerland, there's like a whole mountain that has this like massive structure that basically can create earthquakes. And our audience is like, what the hell is going on right now? I came for cute charts. But it's fascinating. I mean, I love that you're talking about this with me, because like usually people roll their eyes at me and like, you're nuts. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of am. But like,
I mean, here's a good question for those that are listening, like, because we can pull this back to the markets, right? if you go down enough rabbit holes, you could find yourself living in a perpetual state of fear and like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I got there during COVID, and my wife kind of pulled me out. She's like,
hold
control
on.
what you can control, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And so what does it take for you on an individual to bring yourself back to like kind of a place of like peace and calm and say, hey, I need to focus on what I can control, and ultimately that's you rather than the thing. And it's kind of what we're talking about in terms of the markets as well. The only thing you can control is your behavior, your choices that you make. And if you're coming at that from a place of calm and peace, you're probably going to be making quality decisions.
Well,
Like
I'll tell you,
decisions.
with my Nvidia cell, I was running out the door. My kid was screaming. I saw the tweet from Trump. Joey said it, and Sniper also said it. It kind of looks like it could fall down.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all these like things, and then plus, I was in like this manic state where like my kid was like screaming, my wife was like trying to get out the door. I was like, hang on 1 second, I gotta like, and the same thing happened to me during COVID. Actually, I remember I had like a 80K day. I lost like a ton of money, but I didn't even know how to hedge out. Like my brain was so like fried, and like I was in and out of this COVID fever. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I can't control, and I just remember I actually ended up doing nothing, which in that case, I wish I had hedged, some of the position out. But yeah, I mean, markets are all behavior, and that's why there are markets, it's fun when I talk with someone and they think the opposite of me, then you say, okay, that's the delta there that you have. And even Chris Camillo, and I probably mentioned this every podcast, but he was saying like, once everyone's talking about something on Twitter, it's like almost too late then,
Yeah.
So, what other stocks? Where do you think we're heading here with, anything you're trading right now that you love, that you feel you got alpha before everyone else?
Before everyone else, probably just my initial entries in the hack names. I just thought that they were showing. I had thought that the IGV was going to at least rebound, and the news was kind of overblown when all of this stuff was kind of going on, and it was like, oh, AI is going to take everything. I was like, nah, I didn't really subscribe to it, but I wasn't finding many setups that I loved in, let's say, the IGV, whereas like the hack and cybersecurity, that also makes a little bit more sense to me. I think cybersecurity, I don't know, whether it's on an individual level or, some, massive governmental level, I think it's incredibly important and going to be kind of continued, or it's going to continue to be important as like people, as we move into this metaverse, we're already doing that. Mm-hmm. Your online privacy and security is ultimately important. Like, dude, all of a sudden you have your crypto account and someone hacks in and swipes all your cash. Like, who do you go to say, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know. So back to kind of IGV and hack. I think the hack space was probably where I feel like I kind of drilled it pretty good, but the IGV is still kind of setting up here, and I like where it's sitting. I think, again, I think is an annoying ass filler word I have. Looking at the IGV, the mag names, as well as hack, and you're going to want to pay attention to them. It's just where the setups are, I think, currently.
Yeah.
Was in my head and I mumbled a bunch, felt like, but
all good. This is kind of a half day on the pod. I was running here before the show. I was like, we got to stay consistent, 12:30 every day. If anything else you want to touch on, otherwise we can wrap it.
Yeah, we can do that. I find the commodity space incredibly difficult to trade for me.
I don't touch that.
And so I think in watching the XLE, it's just kind of more or less one of those sectors where I'd kind of just rather watch than maybe participate. Maybe if we get something super pretty, I'll hop on a Momo trade, but I have a way of just getting, I guess maybe you could just probably look at the overall behavior of how XLE names behave, mm-hmm. and then kind of reverse engineer it that way. But it's definitely going to be the sector that's probably hot so long as the stuff in the Middle East. And then again,
let's run through like Reddit with some of the other stocks
Yeah.
we've been talking about, see where they're sitting.
Yeah, Reddit looks great. Obviously it's subject to the Qs or the indices as a whole. If the market overall decides to roll here, I don't think that Reddit is anything special in showing that it's gonna buck the trend. It might hold up better than the overall market. I just don't think this thing's gonna be ripping higher with the Qs rolling. But as talking about Reddit, my thesis hasn't really changed, at least even on the larger time frames. You kind of still got this ascending triangle build out. On the again, back on the short term, above 210, I think we're ripping. Below 210, it's just kind of a check and chill.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is that like on and it's funny because I have a tale of two portfolios. Like my dad gave me some money to handle, and with my dad's account, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna like have my thesis. I'm not gonna be in there every day trading and watching. And his account's up like 150% in 2 years. And I've been controlling that one, and I just kind of let that stuff sit because I've done my research. I'm just letting it sit and not trade every day. In my account, it goes up 30,000, down 30,000. So it's like much more choppy. And at the end of the day, it's like, wait a second, like, what am I? I know you're a trader and you're much better at it than I am, but like sometimes it's just best to like sit and let your long-term things run.
I'm a huge believer in segregation of capital. I pound the table on it all the fucking time with guys I work with, or even on StockTwits and Twitter. It's like, dude, segregate the capital by strategy. And if you can be disciplined enough to follow that strategy through and through, dude, you're pinning this again. You're trading yourself, and you're trading these portfolios against yourself, and then you're just kind of making it a game turning it into a game. Dude,
I agree. And like what Joey says, he's like, hey, if you go 2x on Nebius, where there's some questions still there for sure. Throw it into Amazon. Take those gains that you had, and then trade with Nebius. With your initial piece of it.
Yeah.
But take your profits and put it into like safety nets and like have that nest egg just continue to grow over time. And I've been doing some of that, but it's when you get chopped out, there's weeks where, especially when I was trading the weeklies, like you just get chopped so quick. And you're like stressed out as a person. Then when you're like, on the good weeks, you're like, through the roof. But it's like sales, right? Like I've been in sales my whole life. It's like when the eating's good, you're the happiest person. When things are bad, you're just like,
back to ramen.
Having that yin and yang, that balance and even keeled approach. And like you're saying, I think if you have just like your format, your structure, and never deviate from that, because it's so easy to be like, oh, maybe this is going straight to 1,000, or on the other side, just like. With Palantir and Nvidia, like sometimes they don't come down. They just keep running for a year. So you got to have like stick strong to your theses and don't deviate if you're having a good or bad day. You gotta stick to it.
It's all cycles it's all cycles. Like you could I listened to a lot of Jim Roppel on X, kind of a growth investor, fund manager. And thing that kind of really rang true for me is that, the younger you are, and not only the younger you are, but also how far away you are from, like, let's say this goal number you have, the more you're willing to risk and to take big risks, where eventually when you hit that number that's big enough, you don't need to, there's no reason for you to take unnecessary risk. There's no reason for you to chase things or, I think a lot about, like, let's say the 1%, right? Like the 1%, again, back to conspiracy theory, the 1%, they don't bet on fucking possibility. They bet on sure things.
Right. Of course.
So why would they? They like that just doesn't it.
Joey's got a great quote. He's traveling today, so for those wondering where Joey is, he's coming back from Nashville here. But he always says, "Get rich once, and then stay rich." And he talks about that too with the stocks. It's like you consolidate to get rich, and then diversify to stay rich. And like to your point too, the 1%. they go sit in Marcus account if they have $20 million plus $100 million.
Yeah.
Getting 4% a year is great, you know, and you're chilling off of that, you know. So,
buying an apartment building,
right?
Buying
exactly.
like, you know,
real assets,
hard assets. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Totally in agreement.
I'm gonna go on the boat since it's beautiful out here.
Sounds
I'm
good.
gonna chill.
Get out there.
Wife and kids and everything yelling at me. But dude, thanks for popping on again today. We have to stay consistent. Tomorrow we'll be back at 12:30 Eastern. I'll be back in Minneapolis, so I'll have my whole setup going again. But and then we will be back next Monday, and we're gonna come up with some topics and some themes and make it a little more fun. We'll give a shout out to John, who's been in the chat quite a bit here, saying thanks, guys. So whoever you are, John, stares at candles. Appreciate you.
He's an awesome guy.
Fandom, you know? Okay.
Yeah.
He's one of your boys.
Yeah.
Love it. Stay cool out there. It's a nice summer Monday, start of the week. But we'll be back live 12:30 and JFDI. Appreciate it, my man.
Okay.
See ya.
Cause we pop 'em like overridden vodka. C3, okay, a millionaire.